This episode is brought to you by 180 Markets, where it is our goal to bring every individual, fund manager, family office, or any qualified investor access to Australian Stock Exchange capital raises. If you are ever interested in how to access ASX capital raises in a super simple way, 180 Markets is for you. The sign-up process is easy. You just upload your ID, proof of your investor status, and your current brokerage account information. The settlement of shares goes right into your existing account, and you can access our very next capital raise. If you're interested in free, easy access to thousands of ASX capital raises, including placements, IPOs, reverse takeovers, and more, check out 180markets.com.au. Hello, investors. Welcome to another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, I know, certainly sitting here in Melbourne, just how frustrating another lockdown can be. This is our fifth one. But on the bright side, it will come to an end. There will be better days ahead. But there's a company that we are joined by today, Flexiroam, and their new managing director, Marc Barnett. And Flexiroam is taking advantage of the reopening of the world through their eSIM cards, as well as all their payment processing technology and other endeavors. And as important as anything is we are already getting those results. And with that introduction, and to talk to us all about what is going on and how there's a renewed focus at the company, and we're really seeing those changes already taking place, Marc, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Hey, Marc, everyone's got a story. You're new to Flexiroam. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so look, I grew up in Australia, spent a large portion of my career in Australia. Had some time with Yahoo, then I spent a decade with Microsoft/MI9, 9MSN, so the joint venture businesses in Australia. Did a little bit of time in Singapore in an APAC role for Microsoft, looking after sales across the APAC region. And then most recently, it was with a company called iFlix, which was a subscription video on demand business run across 32 markets across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. And we grew that business over a 5-year period from 3 markets to 32 markets, 50 million app downloads, 25 million monthly active users. And so we scaled the business fairly rapidly. And then we sold the business to Tencent in June of last year. And then I finished up in August. Spent a little bit of time with the family, given the lockdown, and sort of helped my young kids with their homework. And then was starting to think about what to do next, and came across Flexiroam, and things sort of took off from there. So I joined the board in February, and then moved into the CEO role at the end of April. And look, for me, when I came across the business, the things that really jumped out at me and attracted me to the business was the global nature of the opportunity. And I find that there's a lot of businesses where you're really trying to get into, okay, how are we going to win this market, or how are we going to fight for our piece of the pie? And the thing I loved about this business is the opportunity is that massive that you're not fighting over the scraps or trying to beat someone else. There's more and more devices that are coming online every day, and all of those need connectivity. And we have a global infrastructure in place, and to date probably haven't capitalized on the scale of the opportunity in front of us. And I see my role as coming into the business and accelerating that growth and scaling the business globally as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I guess, there are 2 follow-ups I have immediately right away, which is number one for the audience. Can you just explain the Flexiroam, the technology, what the product actually is, number one, and then maybe, secondly, your background is really perfect, expanding, getting to 32 different markets, how that skill set translates into Flexiroam, because it's all well and good to have the technology, but unless you can make those deals, it really, frankly, means nothing.
Yeah, so Flexiroam is a few different things. So what we started as a business really is we're a consumer travel data roaming product. So consumers are traveling to another market, they want to be able to use their phone, they don't want to get hit with large roaming tariffs from their home telco. And so Flexiroam's a solution. And that the business has evolved where originally all we would provide is a SIM card where you would sign up, we would mail you out a SIM card, you would pop your SIM card out, put ours in when you landed in a new market, and then you could use our data roaming packages. And so we then evolved the business, because obviously that's frustrating. None of us like to pop our SIMs in and out. It's better than landing and going and lining up in an airport queue to buy a SIM, but it's still not the most convenient thing. So we developed effectively what is a sticker that you stick on top of your existing SIM, so you don't have to keep taking it in and out. And you can then use the technology inbuilt in your phone to switch between the different SIMs as to which one you wanted to use at any point in time. And with the evolution of mobile phones and technology and the creation of eSIM, we are one of the 9 global partners with Apple, with eSIM. And so we're fairly invested in the eSIM space and the eSIM technology. And so what that means is you don't need a physical SIM card. You can sign up via our app and be connected in minutes. You can do that on your phone, you can do that on your iPad, any of those devices that require the connectivity. And the benefit of the eSIM is you're not popping SIMs in and out, you're not going to lose them, you don't have that physical plastic. And so you can effectively just use your phone to toggle between the different plans. And so if someone calls you, take the call on your existing phone line. But if you want to check your email or use social media or do anything that you want to do that requires data, you can use a Flexiroam, the plan. And you can buy the plans for any different number of reasons. So you can buy a 1-day plan, a 3-day plan, a 7-day plan, or a yearly plan. And you can buy a global one or just for a specific market. So it caters for a business traveler that's traveling all the time or someone that's just on a holiday. And so that's sort of the essence of what the product was. And obviously we scaled that globally. We have 580 mobile telco partners. We're live in more than 150 countries. And when we got to that point, we sort of said, well, okay, what we've built from an infrastructure can be used for more than just travel data roaming. And so we pivoted the business and expanded the business into the IoT space, because with that infrastructure, we can service any device that requires connectivity. It doesn't have to be someone who's traveling. And so the first of the verticals that we went into is the MPOS space.
Yeah.
And so,
sorry to interrupt you. Can you just explain what IoT is to the audience?
Yeah, for sure. So IoT stands for the Internet of Things, and it's basic. The easiest sort of explanation I can give is anything that needs connectivity.
Okay.
So if you can connect your dishwasher, your air conditioner, a electricity meter needs connectivity, a set of traffic lights needs connectivity. There's anything that needs any sort of connectivity, we can provide that connectivity. Now, some things are fixed, don't move, and are only in one country. It probably makes sense to just use a telco from the one country. But where we come in is in the MPOS space, is just pick a market, which our home market's Malaysia. There's 3 telcos in Malaysia. So if you are running an MPOS business and you're putting mobile terminals in cafes, shops, whatever it may be, we all know that different telcos have better signals in some suburbs than others and different strengths, and sometimes telcos go down. The benefit of our product is rather than having to pick one or do 3 different deals and change things out if coverage changes, you use Flexiroam and it picks up the strongest coverage and is network agnostic and provides a much simpler solution.
Right.
And then we've recently done a deal with GHL, who is a large regional MPOS player. And one of the big benefits for them is that they operate across multiple countries, across Southeast Asia. And so if they're shipping devices across multiple countries, once they have Flexiroam in the device, it doesn't matter which country they're shipping it to, it automatically works. Versus, let's ship these to Thailand, let's do a deal with local telcos in Thailand, let's ship these to the Philippines. You can centralize the operation. And so that's the first of the IoT verticals we've expanded into. As I said earlier, there's now any number of verticals that we can move into, whether it be connected cars, garbage bins, water heaters, electricity meters, so on and so forth. And so the size of the opportunity is massive. Our infrastructure is in place for us to scale. And now it's about bringing the team on board and striking the right deals with the right partners to expand the business.
Yeah, and Marc, this is, I guess, where your skill set maybe comes into play, particularly is that you have made some recent hires about how to get that scale. I mean, I think that the technology, even though I'm not a tech person, I certainly understand what it can achieve. But it's, again, that commercialization aspect. Can you just touch on a couple of the key hires that you've made over the, since you've joined?
Yeah, for sure. So the team that we had in place, I think, had done an amazing job of getting the business from what I'd call 0 to 1, like
Right.
that phase of they got the business off the ground, they got the business listed, they grew the business really well, and the trajectory was fantastic. And then COVID hit, and I can't think of worse conditions for a travel data roaming business than shut every border across the world. And I think the most amazing thing the team did was effectively the business survived and the revenue didn't go to zero. And sort of in the worst possible conditions, the business still managed to be cash flow positive for the last 6 months of the financial year. So there's so many positives in that. The experience of the team, though, is very, very Malaysia and Southeast Asia centric. And so with me moving into this new role, the key for me is to bring people on board to join me in the leadership team that have that global experience. And so we've recently hired a chief revenue officer, Joost Cordes. So he'll be based in Amsterdam, and he's got an amazing background in the IoT space. And so he's going to lead our revenue and commercial teams and build and grow a team that can capitalize on the IoT demand across Europe in particular. We are close to appointing a chief technology officer who will be based in the UK. Again, IoT background, and will help us grow our tech team and scale our team and our platform and our infrastructure. Because what we're really conscious of is we certainly don't want to quickly scale from a revenue perspective on board millions and billions of devices and not have a platform and an infrastructure that can handle that. And so we're going to grow hand in hand as we grow our revenue, ensure that we have the right infrastructure to be able to process that revenue. And so they're two of the critical hires. There'll be a few other hires announced soon in terms of a chief operating officer will join the business. We already have a chief financial officer that's been with the business for a while. And then Jeff, who is the founder of the business and was the CEO before myself, has moved into a chief innovation officer role. And so he's critical to the business in terms of thinking about where we'll be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time to ensure that we continue to innovate and be ahead of the trends of the industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Jeff is fantastic. Hey, Marc, even though you've only been with the company a short amount of time now, you're already getting some serious results from what I can see. Can you just talk about the marketing aspect of it? What does it cost? Like breaking it down, at the end of the day, the company has to make a profit. The cost per acquisition, the marketing, the spend versus reward. Can you just discuss that?
Yeah, so look, we are really expanding our data capabilities. I would say we were fairly raw in that area, and probably didn't have the specific detail that we needed to be able to scale the business as rapidly as we want to. And so we've made a lot of investment in that space and really upskilled the business over the last couple of months in terms of the type of data that we're looking for, how we capture that data, how we process it, and then how we get obsessive about it on a daily basis. And so some examples I can share is we were getting a cost per install of $2, and we've managed to drive that down now to sub 40 cents per install. And so we're starting to really look at that funnel that says we want to get customers to install the app. After they install the app, they're then more likely to subscribe to the product. They're then more likely to test and start to use any of the free data that is available from a sign-up perspective, and then obviously move through into a paying user where we can start to increase the ARPU, increase the retention rates. And with the world just starting to open up, what we're seeing is that funnel start to work, where as we drive down the installs and increase the volume of installs significantly, we're then seeing those convert into subscribers, where year on year we're 4x in terms of subscribers. Now, yes, last year was a pretty down period for us, so you're coming off a fairly low base, but we're really starting to see those numbers start to respond. And we see we see it come ahead of time because people sign up for the product and then they'll purchase a plan when they are thinking about traveling or when they're booking their flights and their hotels. And then a few months later, we start to see the data utilization pick up. And so we've seen cash receipts start to come in from April, May, June. And then we're now starting to see the data utilization and revenue land as we get into July, August, September, as Europe opens up and travel starts to pick up in that part of the world.
Yeah, Marc, and I think it's an interesting segue. Sitting here in Australia, it is so easy to, frankly, get depressed, but to also not believe that people are traveling. Can you just talk about what you are seeing in the rest of the world as far as opening up?
Yeah, so look, things are really opening up across Europe in particular. In the Middle East, there's a fair amount of movement and travel. So I've recently relocated to Dubai, and I can tell you life's fairly normal here. You have to wear a mask, but other than that, there's no check-ins, QR codes, restrictions, anything. You can travel, you can fly. And so things are really opening up in other parts of the world. So thoughts definitely with everyone in Australia, because I read about it and talk to people back home and see how tough it is. But in terms of our business, it's certainly opened up in a lot of areas. And look, I would have thought before I joined the business that revenue last year would have gone to zero. Like I didn't think anyone could move or travel, and it just didn't. And it was actually a long way from zero. And so even in heavy lockdown, there was still people traveling, still people using our service. And so I sort of, for us, that was the absolute low point. And if that's the low point, that's actually not too bad. And it forced us to rebalance our cost base. And in a lot of ways, we're now rebuilding the business to be better equipped to tackle the global opportunity in front of us. And so I certainly wouldn't have hoped it happened. And I wouldn't say it was a good thing, but I'd say we have made the most out of those challenging times to rebalance everything, reset everything. It probably pushed us to expand into the IoT space faster than we otherwise would have. And I think coming out of this, we end up being a much stronger, well-rounded business with a much larger opportunity in front of us than we otherwise would have.
Yeah, I agree, Marc. Hey, Marc, over the next 12 months, what should investors be on the lookout for? What would be your version of success?
Yeah, look, I think our version of success is all of those key metrics and key numbers continue to grow. I think we continue to improve, as you said, our marketing flywheel. I think we continue to drive down all of the cost pers. I think we see our subscribers grow, the data utilization grow. With that, revenue and cash receipts continue to grow. In our recent quarterly presentation, we shared a lot of the key metrics and really started to, I guess, open up and bring investors on the journey and start to share that detail. I'm really confident that those numbers are all going to continue to grow. I'm really open about this is where we are, this is what we're doing. We have shortcomings, we're still growing and learning. We're certainly not a fully matured business that has everything right. We have a relatively small team. There's a lot that we can improve on, and I'm going to continue to share as many of those numbers as possible and bring investors on that journey, because I think the more people are on the journey and understanding, okay, their marketing capabilities are here, but now they're here, here, and here, and I see how that's moved, and I see how that's now repeatable. We're really, really, really deep into the data as a business, and the more that we can bring the investors on the journey, the better. So we're like, as an example, we're now daily looking at things like unit economics and the entire flow from start to finish. We're really clear on how many subscribers and customers we have in both our travel business and our solutions business versus exactly how many we would need to hit break even and what the path from where we are to where we want to be is. And so we'll continue to share that and continue to share those metrics, and hopefully that gives investors the confidence that we're on the right path and that it's a journey that they want to join us on.
For sure. Hey, Marc, we like to keep the interview short. Do you have any closing remarks for the audience, please?
Oh, look, just to reiterate that it may look like when you're in Australia, it may look like the world is closed and a travel-based business is the last business you'd want to invest in. But as I said, our numbers do continue to grow. The world is opening up, and I would say there's the travel side of the business as things rebound. We'll continue to see that grow. But if you sort of open your mind up to all of the possibilities in the IoT space, where every single device that you touch on any given day requires connectivity, and to have an infrastructure of 150 countries and almost 600 telcos, I think it puts us in a really unique position to be able to capture a big chunk of that demand explosion that we see happening.
Yeah, for sure. You have the travel and the IoT upside in it. Marc, thank you very much. Please stay in touch.
Will do. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, if you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.